I am Michael Donahue. I'm here today to discuss the short film Jackal with
Tim Simek.
You guys had a great premiere at Shriekfest this year. I enjoyed the hell out of it. The whole crowd seemed to really dig it. You guys then screened again at the Shriekfest in Orlando. Based on what I was seeing on Twitter, things seem to have gone pretty well there too. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got involved in the project?
Well, I did a film with the Valentines previously. Actually screened at Cannes in 2015. We shot it in the fall of 2014. So their first short they ever did was called Let Me Go. Went in, just auditioned for them, got the callback, went in, played a father who gets killed in a car accident with his son. The son blames himself for causing the car accident, and the father haunts him parts of the film.
Okay.
Which was great. It was a really, really solid story. That was their first experience with the Valentines. And I can see they really had something going on. Rich is a good writer, and Matt's a really solid director. So they make a great team. So that's the first time I worked with them. And then I've always, been in contact with them with stuff. Whenever things come up, they know I'm right for it. They'll contact me. And then they contacted me through email about this script. And they said that we think, Lance is perfect for you. Can you send in a self-tape? And then they also asked my wife to audition for the wife, Grace, in the film. So we sent our self-tapes in, went through a few weeks, then we got a callback. And it's funny, when I showed up with the callback, I kind of had a sense that we already had the roles, because they were sort of mix and matching roles of Katie and Adam with us. So that's how I got involved, and then we shot it and had a great time.
If I remember properly, they said the shoot was like 3 days, and they said it was like 14-hour days. And I've done a few little things on film shoots before, and when you go that long, people get a little punch drunk, if you will. So, how was the set for you guys?
Oh, it was great. Matt and Rich both set a great tone on the set, and the director on any set for me always sets the tone. And as a director myself, I always try to, keep it a very safe, nurturing, fun, creative environment. That's what Matt does. And it was great. I mean, yeah, we drove, it was like a 5-hour drive to Bridgeport. It was snowing when we got there that day. It was beautiful. I'd never been out there. And we set up, started shooting a little bit that night. And then Saturday we shot pretty much all day and night. And then Sunday from afternoon until night. Because the project was such a solid script and story, yes, the punch drunk thing does happen after a certain hour, but we had fun, and we were all committed to the project, and we were passionate about our characters and telling the story, so it was a great experience overall.
Your performance was effective as hell. At first, like, the sternness, I was like, this reminds me of Everybody's Father Who Didn't Like Me. It's like, you're just sitting there watching, you're like, something is up. I don't know what the something is, but either this guy is a true, like, evil person, or something's really going on. And then, when the ball drops and it's like, no, you're trying to be super protective. But one of the things I found really interesting when I was talking to the Valentines is they were saying, Jackal has so many multiple meanings, and how ultimately both you and your wife sort of become Jackals because you never say there's an issue. You just sort of try to protect her without telling her. And sort of ultimately that was the spoilers. That's the issue.
Yes. Yeah.
So, how did you approach the character in terms of what we just discussed?
For me, first, it was creating a history for him, which I do with pretty much all my characters. If the script doesn't really define a lot of who that character is, and I create my own, then that character becomes real. I have to understand who he is. I had to understand who Lance was, where he was coming from, why he behaved the way he did. And so I created a history. And what helped too was that, with Rosie, my wife, and I, we both created a history for the couple too. So that was a really nice additional embodiment to the character. So I went in thinking, okay, this guy, he doesn't get out much. He's not a social media person. So he lives in his cabin with his wife. For whatever reason, they're there. He's got life experiences. So for me, it was about reading someone, so he picks up energy really well. So I approached the fact of, knowing right off the bat that Adam was bad, something wasn't right. But I had to keep him, really in that zone of, like you said, the stern father, the person that, doesn't take any crap from anybody. And the way I approached it was, okay, I'm just going to make a choice, which I did about him in the beginning, that, he's protective of, his stuff and his own, and he wanted to really sort of, for lack of better terms, ferret out Adam. in a way that he was right. So the way I approached it was, he's not a bad guy. He's just the way he is through life experiences and what he's been through. And I had to embrace that and say, okay, this is all right. But in the end, he is being protective, and he's, trying to take care of what needs to be done.
Most definitely. How did you approach sort of like emotionally the confrontation at the car?
That was a tough one. I mean, it was freezing outside. It was probably like 19. It was, snowing. But, it's funny when you get in that mode and zone as an actor, it doesn't even, I wasn't even feeling it when, the camera were rolling. In between it was. But once I'm in that zone, it's like, it sort of added to the element. So for me, it was like, it was a lot of layers. He was strong, but yet there was some fear because he didn't know what Adam was going to do and didn't know if Adam had a gun on him or whatever. Those things of the unknown, the uncertainty. So I approached it with just an openness of what happened in the moment. And Nick, who's a really fabulous actor who played Adam, we really, really had great chemistry, and we just sort of bounced it off each other and just let it just sort of flow in the moment. And for me, just the emotion of it was so many things. Like, he wants to protect Katie. Maybe there was in the past, he and Grace tried to have a child, or maybe they had a daughter and she died young or something. I mean, there was a lot of different things that I sort of built into that character. So for me, it was sort of like, this guy's bad news, and I don't want to kill him, but if I'm forced to, I will. And that was the hardest thing to approach of, he's very stern in the open scenes in the early on in the film, but then, in that scene there, he's like, okay, this is, all the cards are showing now, so you have to sort of approach it that way. So for me, I just sort of let it take me on a ride, and it really worked well.
It was a very effective picture. I think the way when I was talking to the Van Tynes, I was saying it was one of those that, like, when the twist came, it's not like I was picking my brain up off the floor, but I was like, all right, I'm into this. I accept this, okay.
Yeah. So. Yes, I heard some of the gasp in the audience when that happened. And that was great. I mean, that was such a great feeling, as an actor and also a filmmaker, it's sort of like, wow, okay, we did our job, and that was great.
Right on, man. Well, and the Shriekfest crowd is... It's a special one, man. Like,
it is.
Yeah, they're always ready to accept whatever's coming down the pike and try to roll with the punches.
Yeah, very supportive. Denise is awesome. I've known her for many years, and we've been going to Shriekfest since 2005. And it's always it's sort of the start of fall for us, because we know when Shriekfest opens, it's like fall's here, and we're so excited to always go. And it was interesting, too, some of the scenes, I wasn't expecting some of the responses that we did, which was interesting, watching. That was the first time seeing the audience reaction, because we've seen it a number of times, but then seeing on the big screen with an audience like, wow, okay, I didn't expect that. And, some moments of laughter and, which was great. It was interesting seeing the ride.
Do you want to talk about specifics?
Yeah, there was one scene specifically when Katie and Adam are in the room talking, and then Lance is opening the door with his key, and then the door swings open. And I remember doing that scene. I had so much fun with that. And the door opens, and there's like this awkward silence.
Yeah.
And then Lance is just staring at Adam, and then the delivery of the line of, we don't lock doors around here. And the audience just like exploded. And I guess I hadn't expected that. It was a great surprise. I love that. But it's one of those things where I trust my instincts as an actor, and I knew in that moment I kind of had to hold and assess what was going on, and then tell him what we do here. And that's not what we do. So that was one of the bigger moments that I remember.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk at all about like your sort of career as a whole, like what got you sort of interested in acting, and where you got your start?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I always wanted to be an actor. Grew up on a farm in Texas, so a lot of my friends were 10 miles away. So, I loved watching TV and mimic a lot of stuff off TV. And it wasn't until probably my late 20s that I really started to pursue it and started taking acting classes, got an agent, and then started working. But it was always ingrained in me. I mean, as a kid, I would force the family to sit around while I did impressions and, all that. I used to do a great John Wayne when I was in 6th grade, but I can't do it now. I have no idea why. But for me, it was, it was always there, the creative aspect. And I was in band in high school and college. I was a radio DJ and that kind of stuff. So it was always there. And I always grabbed every, movie magazine that I could when I was a kid to read up on stuff. And I initially wanted to go into special effects when I went into college, because I loved, when Star Wars came out, I was like blown away. And I thought, special effects, that's what I want to do. But then I started majoring in engineering and realized I couldn't draw. So I wasn't very good at that, so I switched. But then from there, like I said, later, my 20s, I took acting classes, had a great mentor and coach in Austin, where I came from, that really nurtured a lot of my talent and always kept encouraging me. And then when I got the supporting role in What's Eating Gilbert Grape as the deputy, that opened a lot of doors for me. Then started doing a lot of TV movies and film and indie films, commercials. So yeah, so from there, it's always just been a passion. And I love exploring more of myself, like with these characters. With Lance, I was able to explore more things about who I am and what's there. And for me, it's also about entertaining the audience and, moving them in different ways.
With What's Eating Gilbert Grape, was that like a random sort of just an audition, or how did that come about for you?
Yeah, it was an audition. At the time there was a casting director in Austin who used to call me in a lot for stuff. She was the main casting director there. Went in, got on tape, and left. And I remember I was working a catering gig. It was one of my jobs I was doing. I at that time had a pager.
Okay.
No cell phones. So I got a pager, and I was at the house where we were working at, and I called the phone, and my agent said, "Got the part." And I literally just yelled, in the kitchen there. It's like, oh crap. So it was, and I was actually cast just off the tape. I never went in for a callback. Lasse Hallström, the director, was fabulous, and Peter Hedges, who wrote the book and the screenplay, both cast me off the tape. So that was it. I got cast and then shot. So it was awesome.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Cool. So, do you have anything that you're working on right now, either as an actor, or you said you're a director? Do you have anything that you got coming down the pipe, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've auditioned for a few things, waiting to hear back. I have my own improv group.
Okay.
So I founded this group in 1998. So we rehearse every week. Approached by an actress about directing a Tennessee Williams play. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to get on that or not. And then just, the journey of an actor, just auditions and, networking, all that kind of stuff, but nothing specific yet. But, things just sort of pop up.
Definitely, man. Yeah, theater's deep in me. I've got an associate degree in theater. I've been doing stuff theater-like since about preschool.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
I didn't know you had an associate degree in theater. That's great.
Oh, yeah. I've got one in theater and one in psychology because that made sense to me at the time.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Which Tennessee Williams play? I'm not super familiar with Williams. I've seen Cat in a Hot Tin Roof, and I have glancing familiarity with some of the other work.
Yeah, that's one of my fave Cat in a Hot Tin. This is Streetcar Named Desire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it would be a long commitment. I just don't know if I'd be able to do it or not because there's some other things sort of in the works. I'm waiting to hear back on stuff. It would be a great challenge. I mean, I've directed a number of plays and short films and stuff, so. I don't know. I have to kind of sort of weigh it out and see. Right now, it has to get funding, which the lead actresses who approached me about it is still trying to, get that secured. So once that gets in place, then we'll talk more, and then we'll see. I've never directed a Tennessee Williams play, so it might be kind of interesting. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You know how it is with theater.
Oh, geez, yeah. It's here one day, gone the next.
Yes. I know. Yeah, exactly.
So, and specifically with Williams, he has such a specific pace and tone to just everything that he does that it's. I mean, it's the production of Cat in a Hot Tin Roof I saw was actually at a black box theater, literally next to a Domino's, and so even in such a small setting, it has this hypnotic quality to it. So yeah, it's very specific.
I mean, just that from the a lot of his stuff, his characters are very flawed, and are so complex, and the same thing with Streetcar, with Stella and Blanche and Stanley. I mean, they're all so complex, but yet I love his writing style. Which is awesome too. So, and I have been. David Mamet's one of my favorite, and I'm still.
Yes, we can be friends.
David Mamet, oh my God, his stuff. Glenn Ross is
amazing.
My all-time favorite.
I got to go to the initial LA run of Romance, and one of the leads was Alicia Silverstone.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and when I was taking a directing class, one of the things I did was the last sequence from American Buffalo.
Yes.
Yeah. And man, that guy.
Glenn Gary, I've seen that film probably, a dozen times.
Right.
And I actually have the script. I would love to produce and play the role of Moss. Yeah. But I mean, that's been 10 years, going now, and I've checked the rights and everything. But Mamet is really, really particular
Oh yeah.
About letting go of the rights and who does it. And I know his agent is pretty tough to get through. And so I mean I've got a cast that I can do and use and get ready to go with it. So I don't know. We'll see. It's one of my pet project that's sort of on the back burner that I would love to do.
Right on, man. I'm trying to remember the name of this. Because he collaborated with oh my god, like I love the dude. He did Reanimator and Dolls.
Oh yes.
And oh my god, I'm having a moment.
No, I do the same thing. It's just our minds are so full of information. It's hard to filter.
Like, I can't believe I went to a great screening of Dolls and I got to Stuart Gordon.
Oh yes.
There it is.
Yes.
Stuart Gordon comes from theater. I guess lately he's friends with Mamet. So at one point Mamet wrote an original screenplay and Gordon directed it. And William H. Macy is the lead.
Are you talking about State and Maine? Are you talking about State and Maine?
No. It's just a guy's name. Like I have it on DVD. I love it. I just can't.
I know.
Give me a second here.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I should know it right off the top of my head.
It won me a copy of the Blu-ray of Dolls before it even came out, and I'm having it. So like I didn't get home till like 3 or 4, and then like I wake up to a phone call from work. Apparently I was supposed to be there today. I didn't know that. So like my brain is just all over scattered right now, man.
Oh no.
Here we go. Hold on.
I get that way many times. What was it?
Edmund.
Yes.
That movie is so intense and very very Mamet. Like.
Oh yeah. It's great. It's always great to talk to a Mamet fan because I just his style. I'm so hooked into it. Anything he writes. Yeah, American Buffalo, and then Glengarry. I mean, he's got so many great things.
And I love how like on like the patterns of speech are on the page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
They absolutely are. Yeah. I mean, for an actor, it's great material to work on. I think. That's my opinion.
And I mean, like, how many times have they adapted Sexual Perversity in Chicago? Like 3 or 4 now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. Wow. And I think he still, from what I read last, he still uses a typewriter.
That makes sense. He strikes me as that type. Yeah.
Yes. He will not use a computer. He uses typewriter. And I think that's pretty awesome, for somebody like that. And a lot of those playwrights, John Patrick Shanley's the same way. He's kind of...
Yeah. That's the Doubt guy, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, my acting class I was in for the last 4 years, she used to do a lot of plays, and John Patrick Shanley was stuff that we did. He's got another interesting writing style, too. A lot of his characters are, same thing, flawed and complex, and, really have to find the humanity for each one of them, so...
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the play that affected me the most was Tracy Letts' Man from Nebraska. Are you familiar with this one?
That was so good.
Oh, you're the first person who even knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, of course. Tracy Letts is another awesome playwright.
Isn't he? Yeah. I mean, but like that play, like when I saw it, I mean, I wasn't like a dude in my 40s going through a crisis of life and faith, but I was a dude in my 20s going through a crisis of life and faith. And it just struck me so much. And I saw it at the South Coast Repertory. I don't know if you've ever been to a play there, but it's it's a really good space, but it's not terribly like conducive to a lot of sets and a lot of set changes, which this has. And so the way they handled it with like sliding walls and like getting something set up over here so that when he's on a plane for like 5 seconds, they just set up a couple chairs and I don't know. Yeah, just like the technical aspects of theater, I love them so much. Yeah.
Well, I know it is, and you're in the moment, and what happens.
Exactly.
And that's to me is maybe a better actor coming from theater too. I think. I mean, it's just when you can sustain a character for a long time, on stage for 6 weeks or longer or whatever. But yeah, Tracy Letts. I mean, Osage. Another guy did a stage reading of that a few years ago.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we could go on
forever.
Who else do you like? Who else do you like besides Mamet and those guys? Do you have another favorite?
I'm trying to think, cause like those are the names that like absolutely like seared their way into my brain. But I remember that there was a play that I saw called Dance of Dragons. I have no idea who wrote it, but I was taking a theater appreciation class at the time, and we all went in expecting something that was not a family drama about the death of a child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But that's what we got, and it was, I guess because it was so like a sharp. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that. So it was such a sharp turn from what I was kind of prepared for that it worked on me in a very disarming way. And so like that one, and then there was a play called Yellow Man. It was a 2-person play. And it was about racism within the African American community.
Yeah, okay.
And so that was another one. Again, I can't recall the author, but and then just like everybody says Shakespeare, but with reason, like there's there and then again, like I haven't read all of Shakespeare. I'm not in love with everything. Like I really dig Much Ado About Nothing. Yes. I've seen interpretations of Romeo and Juliet that I appreciate, but the story of Romeo and Juliet to me has always been like, you're 14. I don't care if 14 was 40. You're 14. Like
exactly. yeah. Just chill.
Exactly.
Shakespeare. Much Ado I Love. Midsummer Night's Dream. I performed Othello at the Stella Adler back in 2000.
Wow. Okay.
That was the first time I did Shakespeare, and it's tough. It's not one of my faves. I know some friends that are just like they're such Shakespeare addicts, but I could never really get to that place. You like Shepard? Sam Shepard?
You throw a couple titles at me because I know him.
Yeah, True West. Sam Shepard was an actor too. He was in Jessica for many years, but he was a very accomplished playwright. He passed like a couple of years ago. Yeah. But True West has always been one of my favorites of his. But he's got tons of plays that have been done on Broadway and stuff. But he's another similar to sort of Mamet too. He's got that style that's sort of gritty and raw, which is great.
Actually, if you want a really good giggle, a number of years ago I picked up a book about Second City, and it came with a couple of CDs that had audio recordings of some of the bits. And one of them was because Mamet had worked like as a waiter, I guess, at Second City. So when he popped, they started poking fun at him, and so there was a what if David Mamet wrote The Glass Menagerie?
Oh no! Oh my god!
Dude, you've got to look it up.
I have to look that up.
It's wonderful.
I have to see that.
But
and that's a Tennessee Williams play too.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Mamet! Now I have to go look that up.
Yeah.
Oh no.
If you can't find it, let me know. I'll try to dig through my CDs, see if I still have the audio. So.
Oh, cool. That would be great. Yeah, I'll definitely have to go look it up now because that's just my sort of taste. When they sort of mix and match that sort of thing. So, classic match.
And then like Doll's House left a pretty big impact on me. Liz Estrada, I love. Yeah. So I didn't get to see Chirac. Did you?
I didn't. Some friends said they liked it. I never did see it though. I'd be curious. I mean, it's not on my main list to see, but I'd be curious to see though.
Most definitely, man.
Yeah.
So what about you? What were some plays that that really like connected with you?
What plays? Obviously True West, Glengarry, Lone Star, which is another great play. A soldier's play, which I performed in Austin years ago, and that was adapted into a film called A Soldier's Story that starred Denzel Washington. I'm sure you saw that.
I'm familiar with it. I have not seen it though.
Yeah. The TV. I mean, the film is really, really good. The play is even better. I just saw somebody doing it recently. Last year, some Loft Ensemble did the Soldier's Play. So that one, like I said, the Shakespeare one's A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is a comedy, which I love. It's a little more fantasy comedy sort of thing I liked. I'm trying to think. There was another Shanley one, and I did some scenes from it in class. I'm trying to remember which. Again, it's that whole thing of overload on information. I can't think of the name of it.
Right, yeah.
But those are a few that definitely stand out for me.
Cool, man.
That I love, yeah.
Right on, man. Well, good times. thanks for doing this.
Hey, thanks for having me, Michael.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. We'll have to do it again sometime, man.
That'd be great. And thanks for doing this and supporting, indie stuff like this, which is awesome.
It's one of those things, like, I just, as is probably clear to you now, I'm just kind of a big old nerd that loves the discussion. And it's like, it's one of those things, people are like, you should totally do, like, YouTube reviews. I'm like, no, I don't need to push my opinions on people. I want to discuss them. If I'm in a back and forth, like, there's a flow, I feel more comfortable. If I'm just, like, talking to my computer, I feel like a weirdo. Like,
yes. Yeah. I know. I hear you. I get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's great. I mean, the same thing. I like the discussion, like we were having too, about Mammoth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just sort of, you get on this ride, and it's just an exchange of thoughts and ideas and feedback. And to me, that's that's what it's about, for me.
Absolutely.
So kudos to you. How long have you been doing this?
So, I honestly don't remember how I first discovered Shriekfest on Twitter, but that's how I first discovered Shriekfest. Okay. And Denise threw up a tweet that said, tell me what movie Denise Gossett was in with Mel Gibson and you'll win tickets. And I look at the tweet, and it was like an hour ago, and I'm like, 17,000 followers. There's no way I get to this first. But I IMDb it, and I was like, get the gringo. And she's like, yep, you got tickets. And I was like, what? Wait, wow. Okay. Wow. So it was 16, and I got to go to Friday night. I missed the first movie. My lady and I got there for the second two and had a ball.
Cool.
Cut to May, they do a screening of People Under the Stairs in 35 millimeter at the New Art. Armando was doing the, moderating the Q&A, and that movie left a very real impact on me. And I went down and I shot some line interviews, just like, hey, this is a great movie. Why are we all here? And then I shot the Q&A and I cut it together, and I was like, here you go, Denise. I did this thing. Here you go. And then she's like, do you want to do some press for me? And I was like, yes. Yes.
It was kismet. It was meant to be.
So this is the second year that I've done it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Good for you, man. Yeah, I mean, that's how it happens. You just start, kind of doing your thing that you love, and then sort of the surprises happen, that you don't expect.
Exactly.
Which is great. So that's awesome. Thanks again for, having me and for all the great feedback and
Oh, real quick before I forget, the improv thing you got, like, what's it called? Where's it at? Where can we find this?
The group is called Slow Children at Play.
Okay.
We are at the Whitmore Lindley Theater. It's at Magnolia and Violin, 11006 Magnolia, North Hollywood. You can go to our website, slowchildrenimprov.com, and Facebook, Scap Improv. And you can reserve and stuff like that. So I got a really talented group of performers. My wife's in the troupe, and
right.
I have people that have been with me like 18, 19 years, and short form improvs like what you see on Whose Line Is It? We have music as well. We have a keyboardist and stuff, so it's great fun. It's great fun.
Yeah, improv is a special skill, both short and long form, and yes. I quite appreciate both of them. So
yeah.
Cool, man. All right, man. Well, thanks again, and take care of yourself. We'll talk soon, man.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
All right, man. Later. Bye.